Good morning. It's March 6th, and we're here from sunny San Diego, which I'm really excited about for the next few days. We're going to jump quickly into the Longbow dashboard. And the reason being is that 2 weeks ago, we saw bond yields popping, we saw risk assets going down. People were extremely concerned about inflation and more Fed hikes. Last week, we saw the opposite. Cross asset classes were rallying. You saw, bonds doing well, tech, everything doing well, risk assets up. And now this week, what's going to happen? We've got Powell talking to Congress. We know when he's giving testimony, anything can happen. We also have some jobs and other inflation related stats coming out this week that are really important to investors. So I like to start off the week taking a look at where are we? And by the way, that's even including China and what happened over the weekend. If you remember, we talked about in the Longbow arrows last week that China was going to come out with its GDP forecast. It came out with 5%, which in some ways was underwhelming, but in other ways was comforting because it means that they weren't going to do too much stimulus, increase inflation, and then cause bond yields everywhere else to be jacked up. So with all of those different moving parts, let's just do something simple and go to Longbow. So I want to start off with the SPY. You can see my screen here. You can see the SPY, the white lines in between the red and the green, but near the top end of the ranges. So if you're looking to be putting on protection, obviously if it's above the top end of the range, that's a good signal to be able to do it. And also tech today. You probably read the news, Goldman saying there's 30% upside in Apple. So you see the Qs here in the ETF, and I gave you Apple here as a little bonus in case that's not part of your subscription. So you can see the trading range, and oh my gosh, what happened? It rarely happens. The white line is missing. Why is that? Because it's near the top end of the range, if you look at that. So when that happens, the last price, 15572, and 15573 is the top end of the range. It means Apple's really at the top end of its range. So let's take a look at that in a second, but I do want to go over a couple other things. We talked about China last week going into the weekend and their 5% GDP target. Obviously, they came out with other things too, but I think that that's the most important thing to note. And then Japan, who can be a beneficiary if growth just stays stable, especially in that region. That's right there at the top end of its range. And same thing with South Korea, and again, near the top end of its range. So we want to be a little bit careful today. If you're thinking about adding new positions, may not be the best time to be adding risk assets unless you have some view on what Powell's going to say, which we do not. You never know with that guy. But let's go into the FX side. That's the China Large Cap ETF. And if you're taking a look at, remember, we had this huge rally, and then China had some disappointment, and then it's been coming back here in March. And it's just a little bit weaker than maybe a week ago. But what you see is it's nearing the top end of its range, but it's a do nothing right now. So that's it for today to get your week started. We look forward to talking tomorrow, and we'll also be updating you through the arrows on all the day-to-day and intraday items that you need to take a look at before heading into here at the dashboard.